My husband told me his ex-wife was unstable, and that's why she had supervised visitation. Then she knocked on my door and handed me the police report. My name was already on it. I met Ryan 9 months ago at a coffee shop. He was charming, successful, divorced with a 6-year-old daughter. The custody situation was complicated, he said. His ex had mental health issues. Visits had to be supervised by his mother. He showed me pictures of his daughter. She deserves better than what her mom can give her, he said. I believed him completely. We moved fast. He proposed after 5 months. Married by month 7. I quit my job and moved into his house 2 hours from my hometown, away from my friends, my support system. The red flag started small. He checked my phone, needed my location shared constantly, didn't like certain clothes I wore. I just love you so much, he'd say. I want to protect you. Then his mother came for a supervised visit. She gave me this look, knowing, pitying. How long have you been married, she asked. 2 months, I said. You seem nice, I hope you have family nearby. The control escalated. He installed cameras, needed receipts for everything, timed my trips to the store. You were gone 37 minutes. The store is 11 minutes away. That's 22 minutes round trip. Where were the other 15 minutes? I started documenting everything to prove I wasn't doing anything wrong. I'd been married 9 weeks when the doorbell rang. A woman I'd never met stood there, thin, tired-looking, but sharp eyes. You're the new wife, she said. My stomach dropped. You're the ex. I don't have much time. He tracks my location. You need to see this before he isolates you completely. She handed me a folder. Inside was a police report, incident report, domestic disturbance. Then I saw it. The victim description matched me exactly. Height, hair color, build, age. But this report was from 19 months ago, before I even met Ryan. Keep reading, she whispered. The pattern was documented. Isolation, financial control, surveillance, manipulation, threats. The victim tried to leave twice. He found her both times. The final incident involved him breaking her wrist and threatening to kill her. This is you, I said. Read the next page. Another report, different date, different victim, same pattern, different woman from 4 years ago. How many? I whispered. 4 with police reports. His mother told me there were 2 others who left the state. She pulled out another paper. This is the real custody agreement. I have full custody. He has supervised visitation because of domestic violence, not because I'm unstable. Everything I'd believed crumbled. Why show me this? She grabbed my arm. Because the next page in his pattern is when he kills someone. The police told me that. They've been watching him. His type always escalates. Tears filled her eyes. I tried to warn the one before you. She didn't believe me. By the time she realized he'd broken her nose and collarbone, I stared at the report with my description. He was planning this. He found someone who looked right before we met. He's been following you for months, learning your routine. That coffee shop wasn't an accident. The cameras, the tracking, the isolation. It wasn't love. It was imprisonment. I need to leave, I said. Right now. She shook her head. It's not that simple. Look what happened to me. She lifted her sleeve, revealing scars. You need to be smart. You need to... The garage door rumbled open. We both froze. He's home early, I whispered. Go. Now. She pressed the folder into my hands. Hide this. There's a phone number inside for a domestic violence advocate. She helped me. She can help you. But be careful. So careful. She backed toward the door. When you run, run far. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Not your parents, not friends. No one. He will find you through them. The car door slammed. She slipped out the back as I heard Ryan's key in the lock. I shoved the folder under the couch cushions, heart hammering. When he walked in, I was in the kitchen, trying to look normal. He kissed my forehead. What have you been doing all day? I forced a smile, every muscle screaming to run. Just cleaning, making dinner. He walked through the kitchen, eyes scanning everything. The cups, the dish towel, how I was standing, looking for anything out of place. The house smells different, he said. My blood went cold. I lit a candle earlier, that vanilla one you bought. He moved to the living room. My pulse thundered. The folder was under the couch cushion, 5 feet from where he stood. If he sat down, if he felt anything unusual. Dinner's almost ready, I said quickly. Why don't you change? He studied me for a long moment, then nodded and headed upstairs. The second I heard the bedroom door close, I grabbed the folder and looked around frantically. Where could I hide it? Not the house. He had cameras. He went through my things. I remembered the storage shed in the backyard, filled with old paint cans and garden tools he never used. I ran outside, shoved the folder into an empty paint bucket, covered it with rags. When I came back, he was standing in the kitchen, watching me through the window. Where did you go? Trash, I said, holding up the empty bag I'd grabbed. It was starting to smell. He stared at me for another beat, then sat down. I served dinner with trembling hands. Every bite tasted like ash. He talked about his day, his upcoming business trip, basement renovation plans, normal conversation, husband and wife, except I now knew I was living with a predator. That night, I lay awake beside him, rigid with fear. His arm draped over me, heavy as a chain. I thought about the woman who'd warned me, the others before her, the pattern. Find a certain type, love bomb her, isolate her, control her, break her. When she tries to leave, escalate to violence. I was in the breaking phase. I'd already been broken from my job, my apartment, my friends. He knew where my parents lived, where my sister worked. He had my passwords, bank accounts, phone records. The cameras watched every room except the bathroom. My car had a GPS tracker. That's how he always knew where I was. The police report showed me something else. A timeline. With previous victims, violence started around the 10-week mark. I was at 9 weeks. I had maybe a week before he broke me the way he'd broken the others, maybe less. Over the next 5 days, I became a perfect wife. I smiled, agreed with everything, asked for nothing, made his favorite meals, wore the clothes he liked, sent him photos throughout the day proving I was home, let him check my phone without protest. I became invisible, compliant, exactly what he wanted. And while I played the role, I planned. I couldn't go to my family. He'd look there first. Couldn't stay with friends. Same problem. Couldn't use credit cards or bank accounts. He monitored everything. I needed to disappear completely, which meant I needed help from someone he didn't know existed. In the police report folder, there was a business card. Cassandra Price, domestic violence advocate, a local number. But I couldn't call from my phone. He checked it every night. The cameras meant I couldn't use the house phone either. On day 6, I told him I needed tampons. He checked the bathroom cabinet first, confirming I was telling the truth. Then he timed me. I had exactly 28 minutes for an 11-minute drive each way. I bought tampons and used the store's courtesy phone to call the number. It rang 4 times. I almost hung up. "This is Cassandra." The words tumbled out. "My name is Beth. Ryan's ex-wife came to see me. She gave me your number. I need help." Silence. Then, "Are you safe right now?" "I'm at a grocery store. I have maybe 8 more minutes before he expects me home." "Listen carefully. Do not pack a bag. Do not take anything he'd notice missing. Do you have cash?" "No. He controls all the money." "Your car has a tracker?" "Yes." "Can you get to a library or community center? Somewhere with public computers?" "Not without him knowing." She thought for a moment. "His mother, the one who supervises visits. She helped Ryan's ex leave. She knows what he is. She can't stop him, but she can help you. Can you reach her?" "I don't have her number. She'll be at the house Tuesday for the next visitation. That's 4 days. During the visit, text me from her phone if you can. Just the word ready. I'll have a plan in place." "But Beth, you cannot let him know you're planning to leave. Men like Ryan, they can sense it. That's when they become most dangerous." "I know," I whispered. "The report said." "I know what the report said. I helped file it. I've helped 4 women escape from Ryan. Not all of them made it out unharmed. You need to be smarter and more careful than any of them were." "4? She said she found 4 police reports. There was one more. She didn't report it. He convinced her she'd be blamed for destroying his reputation. She lived with him for 2 years before she finally ran. Last I heard, she was in a different state with a new identity. 5 women. I was number 6. I drove home with my hands gripping the wheel, trying to steady my breathing. When I walked through the door, Ryan was standing there with a stopwatch. 29 minutes, he said. "You took an extra minute." "Long line," I said, holding up the bag. "I'm sorry." He took the bag, examined the receipt, checked the timestamp. Then he smiled. "It's okay. I know you're trying." He kissed my forehead, and it took everything not to flinch. "You're doing so much better. You're not like the others." "The others." He said it so casually, like I should feel special for not being beaten yet. The next 4 days were the longest of my life. I continued my routine, playing perfect wife while counting down to Tuesday. Every moment I expected him to discover the folder in the shed, to realize what his ex had done, to see through my act. But he didn't. If anything, he seemed pleased with me, satisfied, like he'd finally broken me into the right shape. Monday night, he told me about his business trip. He'd be gone Friday through Sunday. His mother would still come Tuesday for the visitation, but after that, it would just be me alone for a weekend. "You'll be okay by yourself?" he asked. I recognized the test. "I'll miss you," I said, "but I'll be fine. You could come with me. You said it's a work trip. I don't want to be in the way." He smiled, satisfied. The old me would have wanted to come, would have pushed to be included. The broken version knew to stay behind, isolated and waiting. "That's my girl," he said. Tuesday morning, I watched the clock. His mother was scheduled to arrive at 2 p.m. Ryan had work meetings until 4 p.m. Then he'd come home to pick up his daughter. That gave me a window. When the doorbell rang at exactly 2 p.m., I opened it to find his mother holding his daughter's hand. Up close, I could see the sadness in her eyes, the resignation. She knew what her son was. She'd helped his previous victims escape. But she couldn't directly challenge him without losing access to her granddaughter. "Come in," I said, my voice pleasant and normal. She stepped inside, and I closed the door. The cameras were running. I had to be careful. "Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "Water would be nice," she said. I led her to the kitchen, away from the living room camera's angle. While I poured water, I whispered, "I need your phone, just for one text." Her hand trembled as she set it on the counter. I quickly opened messages and typed Cassandra's number from memory. Just one word. "Ready." The response came immediately. "Friday, 3 p.m., library on 5th Street. Come alone, bring nothing." I deleted the texts, cleared the recent calls, handed the phone back. She slipped it into her pocket without a word. His daughter spent the next 2 hours playing in the living room while his mother and I sat in strained silence. The little girl was quiet, withdrawn, too well-behaved for a 6-year-old. I wondered what she'd seen, what she'd heard, what her father had taught her about women. When Ryan came home at 4 p.m., he greeted his daughter with exaggerated enthusiasm, the devoted father. Then he walked his mother to her car while I stayed inside with his daughter. She looked up at me with those sad eyes. "Are you going to leave too?" My heart broke. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "The other mommies left. Daddy says it's because they didn't love him enough, but Grandma says it's because Daddy scares them." She said it so matter-of-factly, like it was normal. "Are you scared?" I knelt down to her level. Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices. But whatever happens, it's never because of you. You're a wonderful little girl. She hugged me suddenly, desperately. "I don't want you to get hurt like the last one." Before I could respond, Ryan walked back in. His daughter immediately released me and stepped back, her face going blank. "Time to go, princess." he said cheerfully. After they left, I went to the bathroom and cried. That little girl was living in the same nightmare I was. Watching her father cycle through women, learning that love meant control and fear. Unless someone stopped Ryan, she'd grow up thinking this was normal, that this was what relationships looked like. But I couldn't save her if I couldn't save myself. Wednesday and Thursday crawled by. Ryan talked excitedly about his trip, about the client he'd be meeting, about trusting me to take care of things while he was gone. He reminded me that his mother would check on me, that the neighbors knew to watch the house, that I should call him every 4 hours. I will, I promised. I'll miss you so much. He believed me. Why wouldn't he? Every previous victim had believed him too at first. We'd all thought we were special, different, that his love was real. Friday morning, he left at 6 a.m. I watched from the window as his car pulled away, then immediately checked every room for hidden cameras I might have missed. I found 2 more. One in the bedroom closet, one in the garage. I had 9 hours before our scheduled call. 9 hours to disappear. At 2:30 p.m., I walked out the front door like I was checking the mail. I got in my car, drove to the grocery store, parked in the back lot, and walked to the library on 5th Street. I didn't take my phone, didn't take my wallet. Wore the same clothes I'd wear for a quick errand. From the camera's perspective, I'd gone to the store. From the car tracker's perspective, I was still there. Cassandra was waiting inside the library with a woman I didn't recognize. This is Riley, Cassandra said. She's going to drive you to a safe house about 4 hours from here. They're expecting you. You'll stay there while we handle the legal side. What about my stuff? My documents? We'll work on getting those, but right now, we need to get you somewhere safe. He'll realize you're gone when you miss your 3 p.m. check-in. By 4 p.m., he'll be on the road home. We need you far away before that happens. Riley handed me a phone. This is a burner. Only programmed with important numbers. No social media. No contact with anyone from your old life until Cassandra says it's safe. My family will be notified by police that you're safe, but not where you are. Ryan will go to them first. He'll be charming, concerned, playing the worried husband. If they know where you are, he'll manipulate it out of them. I've seen it happen. I thought about my parents. My sister. They'd be terrified when they couldn't reach me. But Cassandra was right. Ryan would use them to find me. We walked out the back entrance to Riley's car. She drove carefully, exactly the speed limit. Nothing that would draw attention. As we merged onto the highway, my phone started ringing in my abandoned car at the grocery store. Ryan's first check-in call. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was already gone. The safe house was a converted apartment above a legal aid office in a small city I'd never heard of. 2 other women were staying there, both escaping similar situations. We didn't share names or stories, just silent solidarity. That first night, I checked the burner phone constantly. Cassandra texted updates. 3:47 p.m. He's called you 14 times. 4:22 p.m. He filed a missing persons report, playing concerned husband. 5:16 p.m. He's at your parents' house. 6:45 p.m. He's making social media posts about you being mentally unstable and he's worried for your safety. 8:03 p.m. Police interviewed him. He showed them your concerning behavior. Screenshots of texts he manipulated, edited recordings of arguments, fake medical documents about mental health issues. He's building a narrative, the pattern, just like with his ex, just like with the others. I wasn't a person. I was a project. And when the project escaped, he'd destroy my reputation to cover his tracks. Saturday morning, Cassandra called. We have a problem. He knows you talked to his ex. He figured out his mother helped you. He's threatening to file kidnapping charges, claiming you're not of sound mind and his family helped you run away. He has a lawyer. Of course he does. But we have something better. We have 4 other victims willing to testify. We have the police reports. We have his mother's testimony about what she's witnessed. And we have you. You're the missing piece that makes the pattern undeniable. What do I need to do? Tell your story. All of it. Document everything. We're going to file for a restraining order, but more importantly, we're going to make sure he's investigated properly. The detective who handled his ex's case has been waiting for another victim to come forward. With multiple testimonies, they can build a case for stalking, harassment, and domestic abuse. Maybe even attempted murder with the victim from 4 years ago who almost didn't make it. Over the next week, I gave my statement to police. I walked them through the relationship, the red flags I'd ignored, the control that had tightened like a noose. I showed them the police report with my description written before we'd met. The detective assigned to my case was a woman named Patterson. She'd been tracking Ryan for years, watching as victim after victim slipped through the cracks of the legal system. Some didn't report. Some recanted under pressure. Some simply disappeared, too afraid to follow through. He's careful, Patterson told me during one of our meetings. He chooses women who are isolated or vulnerable. Women who've recently moved to the area, who are estranged from family, who are looking for connection. He studies them for months before making contact. Everything about your meeting was engineered. She showed me surveillance photos Ryan had taken of me, sitting at my usual coffee shop, walking to my old apartment, at the grocery store, the gym, all taken before we'd ever spoken. He'd known my schedule better than I did. How many women has he done this to that we don't know about? I asked. Patterson's expression was grim. We suspect at least 8 over the past 12 years. But you're the first one who got out early enough to help us build a prosecutable case. The others either stayed too long and lost credibility, or they left and were too traumatized to come forward. The other victims came forward with their stories. The patterns were identical. He'd even used the same phrases with all of us. You're not like the others. I just want to protect you. You're making me do this. One of the victims, a woman named Victoria, had been married to Ryan for 18 months. She described how he'd systematically destroyed her sense of reality, convinced her that her memories were wrong, that her friends and family were lying to her, that she was mentally unstable and needed his help. He had me believing I was losing my mind, she said in her deposition. I started keeping a journal, writing down everything that happened each day, because I couldn't trust my own memory anymore. Later, I found out he'd been reading my journal and rewriting pages to make me think I was documenting conversations and events that never happened. His ex, the one who'd warned me, testified about the supervised visitation lie he told everyone, about how he'd manipulated the narrative to make her look unstable, about the bruises and broken bones and threats. She brought medical records, photographs of injuries, testimony from the emergency room doctors who'd treated her. He fractured my ribs, she said, her voice steady but her hands shaking. Told me if I went to the hospital, he'd tell them I'd fallen down the stairs, that I was clumsy and depressed. When I did go, that's exactly what I told them, because I was terrified. It wasn't until I got the courage to leave that I went back and corrected my medical records. The victim from 4 years ago flew in from across the country. She'd changed her name, dyed her hair, built a new life, but she was willing to come back to tell her story. He told me he'd kill me if I ever told anyone, she said in her statement. I believed him. I still believe him, but I can't let him do this to another woman. Her name was now Christine, though that wasn't what she was born with. She'd legally changed everything after escaping Ryan. She told us how he'd escalated to physical violence after she'd tried to leave the first time. He broke my collarbone, then drove me to the hospital himself, she said. Sat in the room with me, holding my hand, playing the concerned boyfriend. Told the doctors I'd been in a car accident. I was so beaten down by that point that I just nodded along. It wasn't until I finally got away that I realized how close I came to not making it out alive. Ryan fought back. His lawyer painted us as vindictive exes coordinating a conspiracy. He produced character witnesses, colleagues who swore he was a great guy. He showed the court his volunteer work, his community involvement, his role as a devoted father. His defense attorney was aggressive, trying to discredit each of us individually. But what he couldn't explain away was the pattern. The identical tactics, the same phrases, the progression from love bombing to isolation to control to violence. 5 different women spanning 12 years, all describing the exact same experience. But the evidence was overwhelming. 5 women, same pattern, same tactics, same escalation. The police found surveillance equipment he'd hidden in his ex's car after their divorce. They found GPS trackers in 2 other victims' belongings. They found notebooks where he documented our routines, our habits, our weaknesses, pages and pages of observations about each of us, our favorite foods, our work schedules, the names of our friends and family members, our fears and insecurities. In one notebook, they found a checklist. Isolation tactics, financial control methods, gaslighting scripts. He'd literally written out a playbook for destroying women. He'd been planning each of us, studying us, hunting us. The restraining order was granted. Then the charges came. Stalking, harassment, domestic battery, unlawful surveillance. His lawyer argued for bail, but the judge looked at the pattern of behavior, the multiple victims, the flight risk. Denied, she said. The defendant has shown a clear pattern of escalating violence and obsessive behavior. He will remain in custody pending trial. I watched via video link as he was led out of the courtroom. For just a moment, his mask slipped. He looked directly at the camera, and his face was blank, cold, empty. That was the real Ryan. Not the charming man from the coffee shop, not the concerned husband, not the devoted father. A predator who'd finally been caught. 4 months later, I was sitting in a different apartment in a different city, starting a new job, slowly rebuilding my life. The trial was scheduled for next month. All 5 victims would testify. The prosecutor was confident about the outcome. My new apartment was small, but mine. I'd furnished it slowly, carefully choosing each piece instead of moving into someone else's space. I had a job at a nonprofit that helped women transition out of domestic violence situations. The work was hard, emotionally draining, but meaningful. His mother got full custody of his daughter. In her statement to the court, she'd admitted she'd known about her son's behavior for years, but had been too afraid to stop him. She'd helped victims escape because it was the only power she had. Now she was in therapy with her granddaughter, trying to undo the damage. She sent me a letter during this time, apologizing, explaining, asking for forgiveness she didn't expect to receive. I watched him become what he is, she wrote. His father was the same way. Charming in public, terrifying at home. I thought if I just loved Ryan enough, taught him better, he'd be different. Instead, I enabled him. I let my fear of losing my granddaughter keep me silent. I helped women escape but never stopped him from finding new ones. That's on me. I'll carry that guilt until I die. I wrote back. Told her I understood. That abuse cycles through generations. That she'd done what she could with the power she had. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was acknowledgement. His ex and I stayed in touch. She was the only person who truly understood what it was like to be hunted by someone who was supposed to love you. How are you doing? She asked during one of our calls. I'm okay. Some days are harder than others. I still check the locks twice. Still look over my shoulder. Still flinch when my phone rings unexpectedly. That gets better, she said. Not all the way better, but better. You start to remember what it's like to breathe without fear. What made you come to my house that day? You risked so much. She was quiet for a moment. Because I was victim number 2. The first one tried to warn me and I didn't listen. I thought she was just jealous. By the time I realized the truth, it was almost too late. I swore if I ever got free, I'd warn every woman who came after me. I'd break the pattern. You saved my life. No, she said firmly. You saved your own life. I just handed you the map. The trial lasted 8 days. I testified for 4 hours, walking the jury through every manipulation, every threat, every moment of fear. His lawyer tried to break me, suggesting I was dramatic, attention-seeking, bitter about a failed marriage. "How long were you married?" he asked, his tone condescending. 2 months, I said. 2 months. And you're claiming this was a pattern of abuse? Isn't it more likely you simply had a difficult adjustment to marriage? I looked at him directly. No, because he'd written my physical description in his notebook 6 months before we met. Because he'd installed cameras throughout the house before I moved in. Because he'd done this exact same thing to 4 other women. This wasn't a difficult marriage. It was a hunting blind, and I was the prey. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the 4 women stood. In the case of the People versus Ryan Matthews, we find the defendant guilty on all charges. He showed no reaction, just stared straight ahead with that same blank expression. But I saw his hands clench into fists under the table. Even in defeat, he wanted to hurt someone. The sentencing hearing was 2 weeks later. The judge gave him 18 years with no possibility of parole for the first 12. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough for what he'd done to all of us. But it was something. The judge's statement was pointed. "Mr. Matthews, you have shown a calculated pattern of predatory behavior that demonstrates a complete lack of empathy or remorse. You targeted vulnerable women, studied them, manipulated them, and when they tried to escape, you terrorized them. You are a danger to society, and it is this court's hope that your time in custody will prevent you from ever harming another person again." As they led him away, his lawyer whispered something to him. He looked back at me one last time, and he smiled. Not a kind smile, a promise. "I'm going to find you eventually," that smile said. This isn't over, but it was. Because I had something he didn't. A community of survivors who knew his tactics. A legal team that had documented everything. A restraining order that would extend long past his release. And most importantly, I had the knowledge that I'd escaped. That night, I met with the other 4 survivors for dinner. We'd formed an unexpected bond through our shared trauma. We'd become each other's safety net, checking in regularly, supporting each other through court dates and nightmares and the slow process of healing. "To surviving," his ex said, raising her glass. "To surviving," we echoed. "And to making sure the next woman doesn't have to," I added. We'd started a website, a private database where women could search names and share warnings about dangerous partners. It wasn't public, that would open us to lawsuits, but it was accessible to domestic violence advocates, shelters, and legal aid offices. If a woman came to them scared of a new partner, they could check the database, see if there was a pattern. We called it the Pattern Recognition Project. It started small, just Ryan's entry and a handful of other verified cases. But it grew. Other survivors reached out, wanting to contribute. Advocates shared it with their networks. Within 6 months, we had 200 entries. Within a year, over 500. Each entry required verification. Police reports, restraining orders, court documents. We weren't interested in revenge or vigilante justice. We wanted facts, patterns, evidence that could help the next woman recognize danger before it was too late. Ryan was our first entry, but he wouldn't be the last. There were too many men like him. Too many women who didn't realize they were being hunted until it was too late. I thought about the woman I'd been 9 months ago. The one who'd thought she was broken because she couldn't hold a relationship. Who'd been so grateful for attention that she'd ignored every warning sign. Who'd believed that love meant sacrifice and compromise, even when it hurt. That woman had died in Ryan's house. But someone stronger had taken her place. Someone who knew that real love doesn't isolate you. It doesn't control you. It doesn't watch your every move or time your trips to the store. Real love sets you free. 6 months after the trial, I ran into Ryan's mother at a coffee shop. She was with his daughter, who'd grown taller and looked less haunted. When she saw me, she smiled and waved. "Can we sit?" his mother asked. We talked for an hour. She told me about their therapy, about how his daughter was slowly learning that her father's behavior wasn't normal or acceptable, about how she'd started laughing again, playing with other kids, not walking on eggshells. "She asks about you sometimes," his mother said. "She remembers that you were kind to her, that you told her she was wonderful. She is wonderful." "I'm sorry," his mother said suddenly, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry I didn't stop him sooner. I'm sorry I let my fear of losing my granddaughter keep me from protecting all of you." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You helped us escape." That took courage too. Not enough courage. Not soon enough. But eventually. That matters. We said goodbye, and I walked out into the sunshine. My new apartment was small, but mine. My new job was challenging but rewarding. My new life was quiet, peaceful, sometimes lonely, but it was real. And most importantly, it was safe. I still have the police report, the one with my description written months before we met. I keep it as a reminder. Not of what I survived, but of what I almost didn't see coming. Sometimes people ask me how I didn't notice the signs earlier, how I could have been so blind. I tell them the truth. Predators are experts at disguise. They know exactly what you need to hear. They study you, learn you, become what you're looking for. And by the time you realize what they really are, they've already trapped you. But I also tell them this. You can escape. It won't be easy. It won't be clean. You'll lose things. Your home, your security, maybe even people you thought would support you. But you'll gain something more important. Your life. 4 years later, I'm 36, and engaged to a man I met at a community center volunteering event. He knows my story. He's never asked me to share my location or questioned when I take long trips to the store. He's never checked my phone or installed cameras or demanded receipts. When I told him about Ryan, about the trial, about the pattern, he listened. And then he said, "Thank you for trusting me with that. What do you need from me to feel safe?" That's what love actually sounds like. His name is Alex. and he's a social worker who runs support groups for men trying to unlearn toxic behavior patterns. He grew up watching his father abuse his mother, and instead of repeating the cycle, he dedicated his life to breaking it. When I met him, I was terrified of trusting anyone again, but he was patient. He never pushed. He respected every boundary I set. Our first date, I told him I needed to sit facing the door. He didn't ask why. He just switched seats. When I flinched the first time he reached for my hand, he pulled back and asked if I was okay. When I couldn't explain where my fear came from yet, he said, "That's okay. You can tell me when you're ready, or never, whatever you need." It took me 6 months to tell him about Ryan. We were walking through a park, and he mentioned wanting to meet my family someday. I froze. The thought of him knowing where my parents lived, where my sister worked, triggered something primal in me. "I need to tell you something," I said, and I did. All of it. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm so sorry that happened to you. Thank you for trusting me enough to share that. And I want you to know, I will never ask you for information you're not comfortable giving. I will never track your location or question your time or make you feel unsafe. You have my word." And he's kept it. We're getting married next year. Small ceremony, just close friends and the women who helped me escape. His ex will be there. So will the victim from 4 years ago. And Cassandra, the advocate who coordinated my escape. Victoria and Christine. All of us, together, celebrating something real. We joke that it'll be the world's most therapeutic wedding, a room full of survivors celebrating actual love instead of control. But here's what I want people to know. If you're reading this and something in your relationship feels wrong, trust that instinct. If your partner isolates you, monitors you, makes you feel crazy for questioning them, that's not love, that's ownership, and you deserve better. Get help. Call a domestic violence hotline. Talk to an advocate. Make a plan. And when you're ready to run hard, and don't look back. Because the person I am now, happy, safe, free, she only exists because I made that choice. Because his ex made that choice to warn me. Because 4 other women made that choice to testify. We broke the pattern. And if you're in a similar situation, you can too. Ryan gets out in 15 years. I'll be 48. His daughter will be 21. All of his victims will have built entire lives he knows nothing about. He'll leave prison with nothing. No wife, no reputation, no power. Just a registry that ensures everyone will know exactly what he is. And that thought, more than anything, helps me sleep at night. Because the best revenge isn't making him suffer. It's building a life so full and rich and beautiful that he becomes completely irrelevant to it. I used to be the woman in the police report. Described, documented, targeted. Now I'm just me, and that's enough.